Right, well, welcome back to another review, and today we are looking at a new locomotive, as usual. Now, this little booklet here, this has something to do with the new locomotive we are looking at today. But we'll just get that out of shot for a minute. Now, the locomotive we're looking at today is, well, when I say new, it's sort of new in the sense of I have only just bought this. But it's also not new in the way that it's not a recent release. It is an older model. Sorry about that. As you can tell by the box, 'cause it's not the new box that Bachmann now use. It's the older box. Yeah, I know that's a mouthful to say, but you know. And today we are looking at the GWR modified Hall class, as you can see, which cost £54.99. Now what does that say? Pre-owned, test run only, tested okay. Now this locomotive was bought on the weekend of the Saturday 21st of September, and the reason why I'm giving you the dates because if I just say Saturday, that could be any Saturday of the year. And this was bought during the Severn Valley Railways Autumn Steam Gala at Kidderminster. They had a trade stand there for the Stanley and Mogul Fund, which is where this little booklet comes in, because they give you these for free when you buy something. I bought this locomotive and they gave me this book for free, and it's good because the money that you give to them when you buy the model goes towards the overhaul of the Stanley and Mogul preserved at the Severn Valley Railway, so that's good. It's not charity, but I personally think that this is just as good. And look, there's even a little poem at the back. Our mighty Mogul. Goodbye, old friend, may you rest a while, and return with an even bigger smile. That's quite, well, it's quite strange, but there you go, it's there. Now, the locomotive is not in BR line black, as you can see, because they have used the wrong photo. Which, you know, it's quite common with Bachmann. The locomotive is in fact in BR lined green with the light crest, and it's a modified Hall, as I've just said, and it's 7915 Mia Hall. So let's get this model open and see what it's like. Now, I have actually already opened this and had a look at it, but I'm going to look at it again in this video. So here's the old Bachmann box. Nothing special. And here we have the card insert with a picture of one of the preserved modified halls. It states on the back there are 7, but actually in total there are 11 preserved halls. But out of the modified ones there are only 7. But it would have been nice for them to say there are 11 GWR halls preserved, 7 of them are modified. That's what they could have put down. And F.W. Hawksworth modified the successful Collet Hall class, with the first appearing in 1944. So they weren't modified to start with, but Hawksworth came along and modified them. And the new alterations included fitting a large superheat and the use of a plate frame construction throughout. Excuse the dog barking. And there were 71 locomotives built, so there's quite a lot of them. They were fairly common. But that's all you really need to know about the Hall class, because I'm not going to bore you with these long history lessons. Enough's enough. This is the brief history though. If you want to see the full history, or at least more than the brief history on this, go to Wikipedia. So then we get all this gumph. You got the guarantee and the guarantee card, nothing special. And then here you get the spares list, as you can see. So we'll put them to one side, and now have a look at the locomotive. Now first of all, what's this curious bit of card? Yeah, it says pre-owned, unused. Yeah, we know it's pre-owned and unused because it said on the box on that little label. In fact, there's another label here. Yet we know how much it costed. Why do they need to say over and over again how much it's costed, and it's pre-owned, it's tested, and it's been tested okay, and it's unused? Ugh. I don't know. But anyway, so first of all there are some details here. So just get rid of that bit of tape. And we'll have a look at them. Now this is curious. You get a driver and fireman with this model, and that's a rarity for Bachmann. You also get a brake pipe to fit on the tender, because it's already been fitted on the Loco. Not by me. The manufacturers obviously already did it. And you get the brake rods to fit under the Loco and the tender. So it's the usual stuff. So, now we'll get it out. There are finger holes in the back, but I'm not going to bother. Right, so it's now out of the box. We'll put the rest of the package into one side, and now we'll have a look at the Loco. Right, so we'll start with the Loco first, and we'll leave the tender to last. And so here is the GWR modified hull. Wow. Now this is a really nice model, I'm sure you'll all agree. For starters, it's one of their older models because it has the big fat chunky coupling hooks, but they still do the job really well. And you can replace them because there is a screw there, although it would take some modifying of the coupling to actually fit it in, but it can be possible. You've got some nice detail on the cylinders there. Oh, just had to wipe that off then. Looks like some sort of lubrication oil stuff. You've got like the drain cocks there, which are unpainted, but you could always paint them if you wanted to. There's a bogie at the front there with some rivets on it. You also get some rivets on the buffer beam, as well as a little coupling hook and already fitted brake pipe. And the buffers, they're not sprung, but this is one of their, well, it's one of their first tour models, and so they weren't sprung. But you know, I couldn't care less really whether the buffers are sprung or not, because, well, they're just a luxury at the end of the day, like a holiday. You know, there's not much you can do with sprung buffers. There's also some lampines on the front there, as you can see. And you've also got the running number 7915 at the front. And you've got another lampine, and the smoke box door handles there, and a shed plate, which reads 81F. And that is the shed for Oxford. You've also got nice detail on the wheels there, and you've also got the link motion and the side rods here, and you do have valve gear that looks like it's made of plastic, but it is actually quite thick, which is quite interesting because with the BR standard class, their earlier models, the plastic valve gear was quite thin and so it broke easily, but if it's thick it doesn't stand much of a chance of breaking that much. So even though plastic valve gear may not be the best, it seems to be more, well, if it's thicker it seems to do the job better. And that seems weird to say, but it's true. You've also got some more detailing there. And there's the name, Mia Hall. This one is not preserved, but there are 11 halls in preservation. So you know. You've got the reversing lever there. And you've got some rivets around the cab. And there's the number, 7915. You've also got some nice handrails down the side there. And glazing in the cab windows, where they should be. You've got the typical GWR safety valve and whistles here as well. And rivets at the top of the cab roof with no cab vent on it, which is quite curious. You've got some more detailing down here, along with the handrails, which are put on separately, and they go all the way around the model, which is very nice. The funnel is quite nice as well, with a brass funnel cap. I think it's brass, or is it copper? I don't know. There is some rivets on the smoke box there as well. And the livery, wow. This BR lined green, just look at all the lining that goes around the boiler bands and the wheel arches and the nameplates. It really is nice. as I'm sure you'll agree. Some people might prefer GWR green or BR black, but whatever livery you get them in, it looks really nice. And of course you've got the neck holders here as well. There's no rivets on the running board, but then there weren't any on the real one. And the other side, you've got some rivets on the boiler there, and more on the cab. And there's the name again, along with some more detailing here. And of course you've got the cab steps as well, that have rivets on. And then if you turn to the back, now there is cab detailing there, but it's just not painted. Now my only question is with the cab, why have they got a driver sitting down when, if you look in the cab, there's no seats? That is really odd. You may have to scratch build one yourself, so I'm definitely not going to add the crew in. Oh, sorry, not the camera then. But yeah, I mean, adding the crew, you know, I'm not going to add them in simply because there's no seat in there for the driver to even sit in. But I will get the cab detailing painted, definitely. And when that happens, I will take a photo of it and put it on Twitter. See, it's not rocket science, is it, people? You can do it. Let's just get closer in there. As you can see, you see it's all there, it's just not painted. But, you know, what can you do? And so I shall look forward to painting that. It's just a shame there's no seat in there for the driver. Well, you know, you could always make one yourself, but then there's no point really. But there is some weight into the model. There really is. Weight into the model. Sorry, there's some weight in the model. Yeah, that's right. But you know, the weight's important, it needs to be there. Okay, so that's the locomotive done. Now onto the tender. So this is the Churchwood tender, which is riveted, and there's plenty of rivets on, so that'll make everyone happy that likes the rivets. That's the connection for the tender. Some might say it looks silly, but it still does the job. But you know, it's also a simpler one as well. You've got the tender buffers at the front there, and these handles which transfer water from the tender to the boiler. They're not painted, but you can do that yourself. And there's even some rivets on the front there as well. You've got cab steps as well, there and there, of course. The axle boxes and tender springs are there too, on the bottom of the tender, like they should be. And there is a water scoop to pick up water from the troughs. Well, the troughs don't exist now, but they did. Again, there's another coupling on the back. The buffers, just like the ones at the front, are not sprung, but then if the back ones were, it would be somewhat quite pointless. But there's some handrails on the back there as well, on the front, as you can see. Again, very accurate livery application on it, with the lining and the light crest, which is done very nice. Although I have to prefer the early emblem, but that's just me. At the back of the tender you have, as you can see, more rivets on the buffer beam and lamp irons. And that should be a builder's plate, but there's nothing written on it, but we'll let that go. And that is where the brake pipe fits into. The other side of the tender has just as much detailing, and up here you have where the water goes into, which is very nice. And you have a plastic coal lodge, which you cannot remove, but you can always put some real coal over it if you wanted to. But it looks authentic enough. But I shall get some real coal put on there, I'll cover it up. And there is a slight bit of weight to the tender, there's not much, but then there doesn't really need to be a fat lot in the tender anyway. So, that's basically it. If you want a GWR haul, and if you collect GWR engines, then you have to get one of these. Definitely. Because they are really nice locomotives. They're really ace in reality, and they're nice to have in model form. If you want one of the newer hauls, you have to go for some of the latest ones that Bachmann brought out. Although I do know that Bachmann used the incorrect tooling when they tried to retool them up, and so they are now fixing that. But that's just to warn you. But you know, the older hauls from Bachmann, they're just as good. But anyway, what we need to do now is to put her on the tracks and see how she runs, because I've yet to run this. I'm hoping she runs well. Right, so here are the layout, and we are going to run this on this line, because I think in reviews we could do with running more locos on this track. So here's the loco. Right, there we go. Now let's just give it a quick test. Oh yeah, look at that. She runs. So now put the tender on. That was easy. 1 second job or something like that. So let's roll her back. Okay, so now let's get her going. Well, I'm very glad she runs. She's running very smoothly. There's no grinding noises or buzzing noises or anything of the sort. And she's not even stuttering. Oh, she stopped. Yeah, that could be dirty track. There we go. I've sorted the track out. Let's get a look at the link motion moving in the valve gear. Look at that. See how nice that is? There she is passing the seaside. And here she comes passing the station. Passing the signal box. An Austin Powers Jaguar. And yes, toilet's still parked up in the siding. But she won't be for too long. Because she'll move onto a shelf soon. Through the tunnel. Out the tunnel. Over the level crossing, under the bridge. Past these houses. And then here she's coming up to the steam engine shed. Where Pannier Tank 7739 is. Waiting for its next turn of duty. Right, so what's left to say about this model? Well, you know what? For the first time in a review, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you decide for yourselves